So, have you ever really stopped to think about what gives a hit song its magic? Or what makes a film a total blockbuster? It's not just some random spark of genius. There's a whole business engine humming behind the scenes of creativity. And honestly, the way we've traditionally thought about it is just, well, it's broken. So let's get into why and explore a much, much better way to look at it. Okay, think about your all-time favorite song. What makes it so amazing? Is it just the singer's voice? Or maybe the producer's killer beat? What about the lyrics that just hit you, right? Or the sound engineer who made it all sound perfect? Let's not forget the record label that got it on the radio. The real answer is, it's all of it. It's a mix of everything. And that right there is our first big clue to understanding how value is really created in these fields. To see why that old model doesn't work, we first got to understand what it even is. For years and years, the standard way of thinking, which was literally borrowed from manufacturing, was this thing called the value chain. Just picture an assembly line. It's super straightforward. A supplier provides the parts. A producer puts them together to make a product. A distributor gets that product into stores, and then a user buys it. Boom. Simple, clean, step by step. At each stage, a little bit of value is supposedly added to the chain. But the second you try to apply this neat little model to something like music or film, it just completely shatters. I mean, think about it. Is a songwriter a supplier of lyrics or a producer of the song? And where do things like fan communities or online critics fit in? The roles are all jumbled up. This rigid one-way street just can't handle the messy, collaborative, and chaotic reality of how creative stuff actually gets made. It totally ignores the important things, like reputation and who you know. So, if the chain is broken, what do we replace it with? Well, the answer is something way more dynamic and, frankly, a lot more accurate: the value network. Right, so forget the straight line. I want you to picture more of an interconnected web or a network. In this model, value isn't added in these tidy little steps. No, it kind of just emerges all at once from everybody contributing at the same time. This means everyone, from the artist to the manager to, yes, even the audience, is a co-creator of that final value. And inside this web, power isn't just about cash, what we call economic capital. There's also social capital, which is basically who you know, your connections. And then there's symbolic capital, your reputation, your prestige. In the creative world, having the right connections or a ton of critical acclaim can be way, way more powerful than just having a big bank account. Now, this whole network idea, it leads to this massive shift in thinking. It really forces us to ask a fundamental question. Where does value actually come from? And the answer might surprise you. It's not in the product itself. Just think about that for a second. Imagine a brilliant movie that no one ever sees, or a masterpiece of a song that no one ever hears. Sure, they have potential, but do they have any real value? No. Value isn't something that's just baked into the object. It has to be unlocked. And this is the absolute key takeaway. Value is only created at the moment of consumption, the moment someone experiences the work. It's the person listening to the song on their headphones, the audience watching the movie in the theater. The consumer isn't just some passive person at the end of the line. They are the final and most essential co-creator in the network. And that experience is super complex, right? It's shaped by the context. I mean, watching a scary movie in a crowded theater feels totally different than watching it on your laptop at home. It's shaped by the process. Are you really listening, or is it just background music? And of course, it's the components themselves, the actors, the effects, and even all the stuff around it, like the hype before you see it or the conversations you have after. Okay, so if the audience's experience is really what it's all about, then how should creators and companies even approach this? Well, it turns out there are a few pretty common ways of thinking or philosophies that you see out there. First up, we've got what's called product orientation. This is basically the "if you build it, they will come" approach. The whole focus is on making something that's technically perfect or artistically brilliant, and the people who get to decide what's excellent are the so-called experts and critics, not really the general public. And here's the trap with that. What the experts think is a masterpiece might not be what the audience actually connects with. This mindset totally ignores why people often consume things, for status, for identity, for the feeling it gives them. It basically pushes the most important person in the whole network, the customer, way into the background. All right, the second approach is sales orientation. This philosophy is pretty simple. The only thing that matters is selling as much stuff as possible.
The core belief here is that if you just advertise aggressively enough and push hard enough, you can convince pretty much anyone to buy anything. But yeah, this one is also really flawed. For one, constantly slashing prices to make a sale can really cheapen your brand's image and destroy your profits. And let's be real, in today's world, people are smart. They know what they want, and they can't be bullied into a purchase, especially when there are a million other options out there. So that brings us to the third and honestly the most effective philosophy for this value network world, market orientation. With this approach, the number one goal is customer satisfaction. And it's not just a slogan, it is the guiding star for the entire process, from the very first idea all the way to the final experience. And when you nail this, the benefits are huge. You don't just get a one-time transaction. You get loyal fans who come back again and again. You build trust. You get that incredible, powerful word-of-mouth marketing that money can't buy. You're building a real community, and that is so much more valuable and sustainable over the long haul. But, just having the right philosophy, that's only half the battle. Even if you're totally focused on the customer, there are still these critical places where the value you're trying to create can just get lost in translation. These are called the value gaps. So gap number one is the analysis gap. That's when the company just misunderstands what its audience actually wants. Gap number two is the creation gap. The plan might be solid, but the thing they actually make doesn't live up to the vision. And finally, gap number three is the delivery gap. The product itself is great, but its value isn't communicated well. So what the customer thinks they're getting doesn't match the reality. So at the end of the day, success really comes down to closing these gaps. It's all about making sure that the value your customer is looking for is the exact same value that you plan for, that you create, and that you communicate. It's about making sure their final experience is precisely what you intended it to be. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you absolutely fall in love with a movie or a song or a piece of art, just take a second. Think beyond the one name you see on the poster. Think about that huge, invisible network of people, the writers, the investors, the marketers, even other fans like you, who all played a part in co-creating that experience. And then ask yourself, are they just running a simple assembly line, or have they truly figured out the incredible power of the network?